Welcome into the Cougar Tailgate, where BYU fandom lives. Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
How's it going, friends? Lauren McClain here with Cleon and we're doing what we do best, talking all things BYU Cougars. Here's what we got coming up on the show today. New BYU football defensive assistant Sione Pouha chats with us about how the former Ute is adjusting to life in royal blue. Plus, former Cougar and NFL linebacker Bryan Kehl joins us to reminisce about his Hail Mary grab for the win in last year's Alumni Game and how he plans to come out victorious yet again this year. But first, Cleon and I are going to reveal our draft picks for who we'd want on our alumni squad out of the guys on Team Royal or Team Navy. Cleon, before we begin, I want to know, if you played football, what position would you want to be?
Actually, I played running back and safety on the 7th grade football team for the Fremont Generals in Roseburg, Oregon. Yeah.
That's an intense name, the Fremont Generals.
John C. Fremont. He was a general, so there you go.
Well, there you go.
I was not good at either position. My one shining moment was in practice. I took a ball up the middle after a handoff, and it would have been a touchdown run, but because it was practice, they blew it dead and brought it back, and we had to run it again. So there's that. My low light was playing free safety in a game and letting a pass go over my head to a wide receiver. I believe it ended up in a touchdown. 7th grade was a long time ago.
But clearly you still remember it very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
Very impactful for you.
Because I looked at the other safety and I'm like, wait, were you supposed to have that guy or was I supposed to have, it's 7th grade. So what do you expect? That was my first and last year playing football. I broke my arm the following summer and started playing basketball. Funny enough, I was playing basketball when I broke my arm. So there you go.
Well, there you go.
So what position would I want to be? Unrealistically, a slot receiver. I'm kind of a short guy, so moving in and out of the big guys. Kind of like a Wes Welker. That's what I would see my position as. Of course, our high school featured a power running game, so I don't know how much I would have actually got the ball. So realistically, I would probably say I'd be a kicker. I know that sounds weird, but I'm 5'9" and I'm not a big guy. I probably should have played soccer, and then I should have probably become a kicker. I would have been famous. Yeah, probably not. But anyway,
lots and lots of money. Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. There's my unrealistic and my realistic take on what kind of player I'd want to be in football.
I love it. Hey, you really missed out. You really missed your shot, your opportunity. Listen, I'm not one to toot my own horn, Cleon, but I'm a 4-time intramural flag football champion. So,
wow.
Yeah, you put me anywhere and I can play. No, I'm just kidding. I actually think I would love to play linebacker. Just, following the ball. I love
middle
to tackle.
Or edge?
I think edge.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be an edge linebacker. All right, let's get to it. There are 33 former players on Team Royal this year, led by none other than the great Ty Detmer as a starting quarterback and Max Hall as his backup. I'm sure Max Hall does not love being his backup. He's like, I don't back up nobody, especially after winning last year. There are 31 guys on Team Navy, led by John Beck and Brandon Doman as the signal callers. All of those guys playing, we're going to tell you who we'd draft for quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or tight end, and then 2 defensive players. Cleon, who are you picking for your first draft pick at quarterback?
Okay, at quarterback, I will pick Max Hall. I'd like John Beck just because that guy has a gun on him. But Max Hall, he just doesn't want to lose. So I'm going to have to go with Max Hall. Ty Detmer, I want to put him in there because that's like, I grew up watching Ty Detmer. I was in high school when he was here at BYU. So I want to pick Ty Detmer, but if I'm in high school and he's his age and I'm my age, I probably should go with someone just a tad bit younger. And Max Hall's the perfect guy because they already work together in high school right now. So I'm going to go with Max Hall again.
And truly, Brandon Doman he had a phenomenal collegiate career as well. But I'm going to go with John Beck for my draft pick. BYU's second all-time leading passer. He had a decent NFL career. He's still engrossed in the quarterback world, training some of the best current quarterbacks in the game right now, Cleon. So that guy is in great shape. He still has the mind and capacity to do it. So I'm going with John Beck. All right, who do you got for running back?
I want to say Harvey Unga. I want to say Manasseh Tonga. Those guys are bruisers. Harvey's good at catching the ball too, but I'm sure Harvey's in good shape because he's coaching the running backs right now, and I'm sure he's in phenomenal shape. But I think I need someone who's a little bit quicker. I'm actually going to draft JJ DeLuigi. That's my guy. I'm going to say he's my guy that I would choose as my running back because I need someone who can catch it and dart up the field. Of course, I don't know what shape JJ's in, but I'm just going to go with that pick anyway.
Because he has a really cool name too. I remember loving saying JJ DeLuigi. I'm going to go with Curtis Brown. And listen, Cleon, I know he's a little bit older, but he finished his career as the leading rusher in BYU history. Obviously, Jamal Williams broke his record, but that guy is in great shape, really good shape still. And he was so big. And I remember him I idolized that guy. I loved watching him. So whether he's in great shape truly or not, I'm going to go with that draft pick because I just think he's really cool. My second pick would have been Algie Brown because he had a great collegiate career as well. He was quick and he was a bruiser. All right, let's move on to wide receiver, tight end. Who you got?
Wow, I want to pick Mitch Matthews just because he's so tall, or Cody Hoffman because he's BYU's all-time leading receiver. I'm actually going to go with Neil Pau'u just because he's younger. I mean, okay. he just played for BYU just a second ago, so I'm going to go with Neil Pau'u as my wide receiver tight end.
Okay, that's probably smart. I'm going to go with, however, something a little smarter, Cleon. And I'm going to go with a Super Bowl winner, Dennis Pitta. Okay?
Oh, brother.
The best tight end, arguably. The best tight end to come out of BYU. He had a Super Bowl catch for Baltimore Ravens. My second pick would have been Austin Collie, who also played in the Super Bowl, had a fantastic NFL career before he kind of got bogged down with concussion. So I'm going to go with Dennis Pitta. They're both about my age. They've been to the Super Bowl. Duh! I'm still super young, Cleon, so yes. I'm going to go with those guys who I'm sure are in great shape still. Dennis Pitta does have some hip problems, so let's hope that's not bogging him down. Okay, now let's go with our two defensive players. Who you got for number one?
I am going to go with, oh man, this was a tough one for me. I'm going to say Aaron Francisco. He's a pretty athletic guy. He can cover a lot of ground. Well, at least he did when he was a player here. He's a big-time hitter, but I think he can still cover a lot of ground. He played defensive back, linebacker. He was kind of like one of those hybrid guys. The other guy I'm going to pick is Keenan Ellis. Yes, he's playing in this game. I'm going to pick him because he just got done playing football not long ago, so I think he'll be able to cover a lot of ground too, and hopefully he'll be able to prove me right that he's a guy that needs to be picked.
You're going with the young bucks.
Yep.
You're going with in better physical shape than mental shape. I'm going the mental route. Number one for me on the defensive side is Brandon Ogletree. They used to call him the Hammer. And they mentioned how he was still very intense in last year's alumni game. And he served his mission with me. In Chile Concepcion Sur, he was the assistant to the president. What's it called? Yeah, it is the assistant to the president. Really good guy, but also very, very intense. And I know he's still got that in him. So I'm going to go with Brandon Ogletree. Number two, I'm going to go with Bronson Kafusi. He's still fairly young. The dude is still a beast. He just recently stopped training to be in the NFL. He got the height to cause some disruption to those old guys. So Bronson Kafusi was a no-brainer pick for me. All right, Cleon, let's move on. Our first guest today isn't a BYU alum. In fact, he hails from the team up north where he was first team All-Mountain West, finishing his collegiate career as a BCS buster in the Fiesta Bowl, followed by 8 seasons in the NFL.
After coaching at Navy and at the University of Utah, Sione Pouha, don't worry, he taught me how to pronounce his name. He accepted a job on Kalani's staff as the new defensive tackles coach. The media talked to him plenty not long after he was hired, but I wanted to chat with him about how things are going now that he's coaching again. How's it been going?
Yeah, I love it, man. I love being here. Obviously, coming here, being part of this, great staff, Kalani, and just really wanted to be an addition to what has already been built here and continue to take the program where it needs to go. But it's been awesome, man. We're in spring ball, kind of do what I kind of naturally know how to do, if that makes sense. And it's good to come in and I think just the experiences that I've had have made me a better version for what I am today, if that makes sense. So it's good to come in and say, hey, I can do this better. I can teach this better. I can change the verbiage on this better, provide more clarity for my players. And that part has been really exciting when you can reinvent yourself and innovate yourself as a teacher, because what you teach and really depends on how your players will play, right? Will they be able to respond? Will they be able to take it in? So the ability to come in here and be able to continue just innovate and push the envelope on becoming a better teacher, being a better coach, and then trying to see that if that affects your players in a positive way, it's been real exciting.
Okay, so how has it been different then for you? You said, I've improved. I've learned a lot of things in the past. You've been at Utah. You've been at Navy.
Yeah.
It's been a different experience for you there. So how are things different this time around in terms of teaching your linemen? This is what I want you to do.
Yeah, I think like the fundamentals and principles always stay the same, especially when you play technique. It really is just your ability to deliver and to choose and to become more effective when it comes to like practices and setting up those individual drills, right? And so we always know, and here's an example, we always know you don't cross over your feet, right? Now, are you creating the drills to support them and to help them succeed? So it's that part, right? The principles will all stay the same. The framework, when it comes to, everybody has 24 periods, right? Everybody has spring balls, right? But it's what you do inside that structure that really determines the difference that you'll be able to make when you come out of those phases.
How do you think your relationship to your players has changed over time?
Yeah, I mean, that's what relationships take. They take time and experiences, right? And so that's my number one deal, being somewhat of a leader, is to be able to connect with them, right? Not only on a football level, but on a personal level. And, it's definitely improved. Not only does relationships improve with time, right, but the experiences that are within those times. So making sure you're eating with them, make sure you're laughing with them, make sure you understand who they are, make sure on your drive home, you give one of them a call and just ask how they're doing, how their family's doing. And so, a lot of different elements of components of connecting with people is something that's super important. It does take time to do it, but if you have time and you don't have those experiences, it's just time wasted. And so it's within the allotted time that you have those experiences with your players.
Do you think any of your players get a little nervous when they see your caller ID come up? It's like, oh man, it's coach.
I would hope not, right? I would hope not. And so and that's on me as a leader and as a coach, that when I call them, it's not always for correction, right? It's for encouragement. And so you never want a player to look at, get discouraged when they see you. You want them to kind of draw to you. And so you got to make sure that as a leader, I got to make sure that as a coach, that I'm that coach that they draw to, because I'm an encourager, right? I'm an energizer to them in whatever shape or form. Not just, hey, I did something wrong, coach is going to correct me, but hey, I see coach and he encourages me, right? He gives me courage to get better. He gives me support to be able to improve in what I do. So we have to be consciously aware of that influence that we have, and know that they're thinking something on their end, and so we have to make sure that we provide a safe environment, a safe connection between the both of us, that they don't get nervous.
How many of these guys, when you were hired, knew who you were, not just the coach, but the player too?
I think they knew. I think they knew. I think they've looked. They probably looked it up on Google and and do their research and all that stuff. And when I came here, I told them I came here to coach you, right? I didn't come to coach my past. I didn't come to coach who I was as a player. And I think that's important, that you do provide you do appreciate your past and your experience that you have, but the most important job you got is the one that's in front of you. And I think once they understood that, they're like, oh, dude, coach is here for me. He's not here because of he did this or he coached there. He's here for me. And so that's part of the connection and trust that you build in the room.
But do you ever bring out, when I was in the NFL?
No, I think they're just it just gives credibility, and you can measure that without having to tell it. So when I tell them something, their ears are up, and so you listen. And so, you could tell that they have a sense of trust, and you have a credibility with them. Credibility is not something that you tell people. Credibility is something that people give to you. And so when they give me their attention, when they're in class, when they're in their meetings 10 minutes early, when they're out here 15 minutes early, even when no other group is doing it, right? They're there. As you can tell, like, we're the last ones to run off, right? We just ran like six to eight half gashers, right? And like they never flinch because they look at you, they have that sense of trust. And, some of that probably comes from, some of the stuff that I've done as a player and some of the stuff that I've done as a coach, but I want it to happen because they know that it'll make them better, right? I know that it makes our room better. I want them to do it because they know, hey, this is part of the deal. This is how we do, this is how we play football. And so, I never really taught or anything like that, but I love and appreciate the attention and the detail and just their willingness. And again, that can contribute to who you've been, but they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and I think that's why they do it mostly.
Let's talk about your line. You said you just came off and they had to run some extra things. I don't know whether that was because of something good they did, something bad, just teaching, whatever. How's it been? What can you tell us about the defensive tackles right now?
Yeah, for us, it's just getting really good at our job, right? And like really, really good, like conference contending type good, right? Now that takes a lot of building, that takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of reps, but most importantly, just it takes a certain type of culture and a person in the room, and we've talked about this all the time, is understanding who we are and what our core values are, and so today one of our core values the three of our core values is really just being tough, right? Being physical and being really skilled. And so when we talk about tough for us is performing over circumstances, right? Whatever the weather is, we're still going to try to perform at a high level. And so today, it's Friday, right? There's a tendency to kind of drift off a little bit. It's morning.
Like most people at work.
Right. It's the morning, right? We're used to practicing in the afternoon, right? That's another component in the deal. We had a pretty long practice, right? That's another component in the deal. And then we get on the line and run. And so emphasizing your culture by what you practice, what you promote and permit. And so, hey, they got on the line, had a smile on their face, buckled it up, and we ran our half gashers, right? And it wasn't for punishment or for anything, but it's really for emphasizing and strengthening the culture that you have, the core values that your team has. And so as a coach, that's what you want to build. And then what you practice, what you promote, and what you preach, and permit is really what the culture is. And so you want to provide that as a coach.
I know we've got about a little less than a month of spring practices left. Who though is, I mean, you could probably talk about every single one of your linemen and take 5 minutes talking about them, but who are some of the guys that you've kind of been, that stood out to you, who've done a good job in whatever they've done a good job in?
Yeah, all of them have done well in their own way in different phases. Josh Singh has been a player that's just been able to play the cards that he's been given. He's a walk-on guy that's come in and just really taken in the coaching that's been taking. And so there's him, there's Nisa, I mean, there's Jackson, there's John Nelson. I mean, it goes all the way from there to Mac, right? Everybody has somewhat of an improvement that they made in whatever phase they have. Remember, everybody's strengths and weaknesses are different. And so you can't really have a cookie cutter way. That's why you have to kind of customize your coaching to each of them and make sure that they all develop. But all of them have been doing well, man, and super proud and super grateful to be able to be their coach.
A lot of people are going to be watching the defense this next year just because, it's just natural. You've got a new coaching staff. Yeah. You want to see how they do. But I think a lot of people are also going to be watching the defensive line because they want to see, are they going to be able to provide some disruption? Do you kind of like that pressure on you? Like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that perspective, right? But there's no pressure when that's your nature. If that makes sense. Yeah. You're like, hey, for instance, right? I like eating. So if I had people show up to watch me eat or watch me cook, no pressure because I'm just being who I am, right? And so that's the nature, that's the culture that we have. And so when people come here, it's not, we don't rise to the expectation of the people, we rise to the expectations of who we are and what we know we are and what we practice, if that makes sense. And so and that makes it natural on game day, right? To say, hey, of course I'm physical. Of course I'm disruptive. That's what I've been doing. That's how we sleep. That's how we meet. That's how we practice. That's how we do our half gashers after the game. That's just what we do. And so that's all part of the engineering that takes place in spring ball, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So when are you selling tickets to you cooking or eating?
You know what? I'll have to come out. Maybe I'll let Jack DeMooney be the facilitator of letting, of advertising that. I got to get a good menu course, man. But we'll get it out there sometime, man.
Last question for you. You had these guys run gashers, but do you ever just want to get down and show them, this is how I want you to do it? And if you do you ever go up against anyone?
I mean, there's a couple times where I've put my hands on them, and this is what I want. You kind of have to get out there and do it. It comes, I'm not going to be able to cross that sideline, right? So you do as much as you can, and you guide them, and you support them, and try to teach them, and yeah, of course you're going to try to mimic a little bit what you want from them, but at the same time, they gotta learn it, they gotta understand it. Not only they gotta know, but they gotta feel it, right? And so, I can go out there and show them all that stuff, and that is part of coaching, is be able to instruct them and teach them that way. But most important thing is that they can do it on their own. But yeah.
Thanks again to Sione Pouha.
So glad he's on the staff now. When we come back, former Cougar football great Bryan Kehl tells us his picks for his dream alumni team. Don't go anywhere. This is Cougar Tailgate. Welcome back to Cougar Tailgate. I'm Lauren McClain alongside Cleon Wall. Joining us now is former Cougar and NFL linebacker, but more importantly, the guy who caught the winning pass in last year's alumni game, Bryan Kehl. Thanks for coming on, Bryan.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You caught the game-winning Hail Mary from Max Hall in last year's alumni game. Are you still basking in that glory? Is that something you still think about?
So someone asked me that exact question not even a week ago, and I said I am still riding that high a year later. So I don't know if I'll ever get off that roller coaster. It was so fun, such a fun night, such a fun ending, and it's great for a defensive guy to have some offensive magic.
How many times have you brought that up with like other former Cougars in just the past year, saying, "Hey, your anniversary's coming up"?
You know, it's funny as yesterday, Jack DeMooney, he sent out a message to our team for this upcoming game. And I was they were talking about offenses. John Beck's on there, Austin Collie. They're talking about, they were kind of joking, we're going to run this and we're going to run that. And I had to fight the urge to insert myself and remind them and be like, hey guys, there's a new offensive player. So I need to get some targets and some reps before the last play of the game. I didn't say it, but I wanted to.
Guys, you're putting me on the wrong side of the ball. What are you doing? So who really deserves the credit? Is it you or Max?
I mean, it was a good team effort. It was for Max to get the ball down there. It was quite a heave. And it was just kind of funny. I've been on the other side, obviously on defense when a Hail Mary has happened. And, I haven't played offense since I didn't even play it in high school. We could only play one way in high school. So I didn't even play offense in high school. I haven't played offense since like Little League. And so I haven't had a ball thrown to me. And obviously it's a Hail Mary. And, really Max just chucked the ball down there. But what's funny is I felt like he was throwing it to me and I just went up and got it. And I don't know. It was just kind of crazy the way it all happened.
I think you need to take full responsibility for that touchdown catch. I'm just...
Max would probably argue that, but sure, I'll take it.
Okay, sounds good. Now, I don't believe you and Max are on the same team this year. Is there, is there a rift, or can we make up a rift right now why you two are not on the same team? Or did you just like, you know what, I need my own team, Max. I can't be associated with you because I caught that ball.
Yeah, I don't know how they did the team selection. And, to be honest, last year I was kind of bugged because I wanted to be on Team Royal. I never got to wear Royal when I was at BYU, and I'm jealous of these guys because Royal is just better than Navy. It just is, and looks 100 times better. And I'm jealous. I've always wanted to wear Royal. I wanted to wear Royal last year, so I was kind of mad to be on Navy. And again, I'm on Navy. That being said, we are going to win. I don't know, if Max, who knows, but he likes to win, but I'm going to unfortunately have to disappoint him because Navy is going to win again.
I think there's a lot of guys on that field that really want to win, even though it's just the alumni game. For you, is there pressure to have a repeat performance? Or are you thinking like, hey, I got to lay a little bit lower this year because you are a little bit older, 1 year older than you were last year? What are you thinking going into this game? I am 1 year older, but I am in better shape than I was. Hey. I was in great shape a year ago, but I have really taken my workout regimen completely unrelated to this game, just, for something to do in my life. My diet is the best it's ever been. And my workout is really, it's at a new level. So is there pressure? There's always pressure. To do something like that is going to be pretty tough, but Ty Detmer is on the other team, and if I can pick six him, then in my book, that'll match it. So that's what I'm going for.
Okay, so how much stretching do you have to do for something like this? Because even though you're working out, you're not doing specifically what you do in the game when you go work out. At least I assume that. I mean, I have to stretch out just to walk or go for a little hike. How much stretching are you going to be doing before this game? And is there any, like in the back of your mind, are you thinking, I can't pull a hamstring or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a real threat. It is different, and you can't simulate. It's really hard to train and simulate the movements, the explosive movements that you do in football. I play a lot of basketball, but it's different because basketball is short bursts, where, football, you really open it up and you have those longer strides. It's different. Last year, I knew I would be sore. I was shocked at how sore I was still for a week later. And I'm sure I'll be sore again this year, but I can't wait. I love that feeling. I'm actually looking forward to it.
It's so much fun. What I love is there's some old guys, there's some young guys, and then there's some guys like you that are right in the middle. How much of an advantage do you think it is for the guys who are pretty fresh out of college?
Well, I look at some of the names on the rosters, and it was the same last year. The Royal team had probably the fastest guy in the game, Hefo, on their team, and I believe he's on that team again. And he's a fast player, and he's just freshly removed from playing. And he was playing definitely at a different speed than most of the guys out there in the game last year. Even my dad watching the game on this broadcast, he noticed that. It's just kind of funny, but yeah, there is a mix of age, and I think they have a couple of those young guys like Hefo and Neil that are younger and still closer to their prime. I think the edge still goes to the Navy team, because the Navy team is pretty loaded with some all-time great players. I hope it's a good game. It was great last year. It's more fun if it's close.
Why do you think this alumni game is such a big hit? Because I've heard from the former players that they loved it. I've heard from fans that they loved it. Why do you think it was such a big hit, and why do you think it could be a big hit this next season?
Yeah, I think it's going to be even more than last year in terms of people coming and people watching, just because it went so well last year. I think, well, there's a couple, to answer your question, I mean, there's a couple things. Football it's just popular. People love football. The NFL is the most popular sport here. NFL dominates. And so, football is not going on right now. There's those other startup leagues that just happened. But they're okay. But they're what I'm getting at is there's a void. Like, people want football. So that's one reason, and this time of year. And then, so people love football. And then you put like some of those names, and so obviously last year there were big names, but I mean, now when you add a name like Ty Detmer, who I already mentioned, he's basically the greatest Cougar ever, with a Heisman on his resume. And then just up and down the rosters are all-time greats. And so when you have that, it just creates excitement for the fans. And so, I mean, that's why the fans are interested to see who's still got it. So it's kind of like the entertainment factor, but also it's nostalgia. It's remembering the heyday of some of these players. And, I look at like a James Dye, who I don't know if he's playing, but his name's on the list. I mean, I idolized him when I was a kid, and for me to be out there with him, like, that excites me. I'm pumped for that, just in his example. And then in terms of like why the former players are excited, it's because we're all washed up. We had our glory days, and we miss it. We miss it, man. It's just there in life. You have kids, and there's different things with them and your family, but there's nothing like team sports and just the camaraderie and the brotherhood, and that life comes in phases, and that phase is gone for us. We're, like I said, we're old has-beens, washed up, but for us to get a little taste of that brotherhood and that camaraderie and the competition and the gridiron, it is just a little taste. It's not the whole thing, but that's why we're so excited, because we miss it. We did it for so long, and now it's gone.
Oh, I can't even imagine. And I'm with you. When I look at the list of the teams and see all the names on there, it's just like, why would you not want to watch? Those were all of our heroes growing up from like every different era. So Bryan, Cleon and I made some picks of who we want on our own personal alumni roster. We're going to we pick a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, and then a couple defensive players. And we want to know your picks. Let's start with quarterback. Who would be your number one quarterback out of all those guys that are playing in the alumni game?
Out of the ones who are playing, or just
Yeah.
out of all-time BYU?
The ones that are playing.
Ooh, that's a toss-up.
So
I mean, it's
You got
Max
because
or
you got
it's
Ty
Max or
Detmer, Max
John.
Hall, John Beck. Yes.
What's that?
Yeah, I would say we have Brandon Doman, Ty Detmer, John Beck, and Max Hall.
So, I mean, Ty Detmer is the GOAT, but he's old and I don't know what he's got left in his arm. So, so it's hard to say. I mean, if we're talking like right now, or are we talking like when they were young?
I don't, Cleon, what do you think?
I think right now. Let's go with right now.
Yeah, let's go with right now.
Yeah.
The shape they're in right in this moment.
So Matt, I mean, honestly, it's Max and John they have the edge, and John's on my team, so I'll say John.
Ooh, very diplomatic. Okay, Bryan, what about running back?
The best all-around running back that BYU has ever had is Harvey Unga, and this is the best all-around, passing, catching, blocking. That's Harvey, and he's in the game. I think he's on my team. So Harvey.
Okay, I like that pick. I had Curtis Brown, because have you seen that guy? Like, he's behind Jamal Williams, right, in BYU history, but he's still in phenomenal shape. He's fantastic. All right, who would be your pick for wide receiver, tight end?
Wide receiver, because we're going right now, I'm going to go with, and who's playing in the game. It is not on my team, but Hefo, because he's the closest to his prime. And I don't know that Austin Collie or Cody Hoffman, who I think both are on my team, if they hear this, sorry, fellas, you guys are much better receivers than he was, than you were, but he's closer. He's faster right now. So sorry, guys.
All right, last one. Pick a couple of defenders. I mean, we'll just assume that you've already picked yourself, but if you had to pick a couple of other defenders that you want to play with, who would those guys be?
Oh, I'm trying to remember who's even on the list. An easy pick just because he's a wild man and is just fun to be along with. I was talking to Kelly Papinga the other day about Brady Papinga, and Kelly said Brady, he's never seen him so excited. And so Brady is one of those guys that relishes everything football, and I'm sure he's been starved without football in his life, and it'll be interesting to see how he does next week. So that's an easy pick.
Oh man, I love it.
Gennaro Guilford, he's just I played with him one year, phenomenal player, relative to his age, still got it, smart coach. So there's another easy pick.
Didn't Tom Holmoe have to have a chat with you guys before the game started last year? Like, hey, you guys got to remember this is for fun. Because everyone, even though it's just like church ball, this is for fun, but everyone gets competitive anyway. And all of you were Division I and some NFL athletes. Is the competitiveness still there when you guys step on the field?
Honestly, it is, but it's different. And you could tell there were certain guys last year who were playing at a different gear than the other guys. And a lot of it has to do with the shape that they're in, but because there were some guys who were genuinely just out there having fun. But there were a lot of us, because I was in this group, that were out there to win. And if I lace them up, I'm going to win. That's just how I am. That's how I'm wired. And there's a mix. Some guys are like that, and some guys are genuinely just having a good time.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait. We're here with former Cougar and NFL linebacker Bryan Kehl. Bryan, thanks so much for coming on. And hey, we're rooting for you. We're rooting for you to have a repeat of last year. One more catch.
Pick six, Ty Detmer. That's what I mean.
There you go.
So,
you're calling it. I love it. All right, Bryan, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
And that does it for us today. Thanks again to Sione Pouha and Bryan Kehl for coming on the show with us. You can join the Cougar Tailgate wherever you get your podcasts on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYURadio.org. Cougar Tailgate is a production of BYU Radio.